Warnings of a catastrophic US default. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, we're going to have a look at this article from Reuters in which JP Morgan's Dimon cautions a US default would be potentially catastrophic. Now, let's have a look at the share market. Right now we can see, well, the S&P 500 is down today 51 points, and the last few days it's been going down. So there's a bit of, well, fear out there in the market. Is this the beginning of a correction? Let's have a look. You know, there we go. Have we reached the peak and are we heading back down? Will it be as dramatic as the last crash we had? Or is this just a bit of media-fueled fear about the debt ceiling in the US? There'll be a bit of posturing, a bit of political back and forth, and then it will be a big nothing. So now's an opportunity to get some share bargains, perhaps. So, JP Morgan Chase & Co. has begun preparing for the possibility of the United States hitting its debt limit, Chief Executive Jamie Dimon told Reuters on Tuesday, adding he nevertheless expected policymakers to find a solution to avoid that potentially catastrophic event. Now, if they hit it, they may just raise it again, or they may just do away with it entirely eventually. It doesn't seem to hold much of a muchness, does it? The country's largest lender has begun scenario planning for how potential U.S. credit default would affect the repo and money markets, client contracts, its capital ratio, and how ratings agencies would react, Dimon said in an interview. It is like the third time we've had to do this. It is a potentially catastrophic event, he said. Every single time this comes up, it gets fixed, but we should never even get this close. I just think this whole thing is mistaken, and one day we should just have a bipartisan bill that gets rid of the debt ceiling. It's all politics, he adds. There you go. Now, I suspect that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to get to that point. It'll just be, they'll get rid of it. It'll be a big nothing. Congressional Democrats are scrambling to find a way to raise the government's $28.4 trillion borrowing cap before the Treasury Department runs out of means to service the nation's debt. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has said the Treasury will likely exhaust extraordinary measures by the 18th of October. Democrats have prepared votes to head off a government shutdown and a potentially economically crippling U.S. credit default on Tuesday, but a quick resolution appeared unlikely in the face of continued Republican resistance. Well, they have until the 18th. So what is it, 18 days until a potentially catastrophic collapse? No, you wouldn't call it a collapse. It's just potentially catastrophic. It'll probably collapse the stock market if it were to happen. Financial brinksmanship has become a regular feature of U.S. politics over the past decade, thanks to ongoing partisan polarization, with debt ceiling deals coming down to the wire in 2011 and 2017. Bloomberg reported last week that Secretary Yellen had called the leaders of the biggest Wall Street financial firms to recruit them in her campaign to pressure Republicans to agree to a deal. The Treasury declined to comment on the report. Dimon said, as part of the preparation, the bank was combing through its client contracts, a resource-intensive process. You've got to check the contracts to try to predict it out. If I remember correctly, the last time we got prepared for this, it cost us $100 million, he said. Dimon was speaking to Reuters before a ribbon-cutting ceremony at the bank's new branch in southeast Washington, part of JP Morgan's efforts to promote racial equality by boosting its presence in underserviced communities. The branch is the 11th of its kind JP Morgan has opened in cities including New York, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Chicago since 2019. As well as providing traditional services, the branches work with local community groups to provide free skills training and other small business support. It's not a traditional bank branch. We want it to be very welcoming. We want it to be attractive, he said. Following nationwide BLM protests last year, JP Morgan pledged $30 billion over 5 years to advance racial equity. That includes originating 40,000 new mortgages and 15,000 small business loans to Black and Latino communities. It's a loan. It's going to get paid back. You know, they're a bank. Oh, so nice of them, lending money to people. So generous of the bank to do what they'll do anyway. Maybe I'm being too skeptical again, too cynical. The investment underscores how large corporations are increasingly embracing social, environmental, and governance, or ESG, issues amid pressure from investors. Addressing racial equity is also a priority for President Joe Biden's administration, which has said bank branch deserts perpetuate inequality by reducing access to credit. Now that's true. That is, you've got certain parts of cities, certain suburbs where people don't have access to banking facilities. And if you don't have a car, you don't even have a bank account, what are they depending on? They don't get access to cheap credit. They have to go to cash day lenders, and it becomes a real mess. And there's a certain point where your poverty reaches such a level, so low, that everything starts costing more and more than normal because people don't want to take the risk with you. Biden's acting comptroller of the currency, Michael Hughes, this month said he would scrap contentious changes to fair lending laws led by his Trump-appointed predecessors and start a fresh review with other banking regulators. Rules around the Community Reinvestment Act, where regulators score banks on how well they service poor communities, need to be regularly modernized to account for technology-driven changes in banking, said Dimon, who said the overall law is good for the country. It is very complicated, very slow, very late, very hard to measure, he said, adding CRA assessments should also be performed in real time as opposed to retrospective reviews every few years. Does it actually capture everything? No. Is it real time? No. Is it politicized? Absolutely. So there we go. So what's the takeaway to this one? A potentially catastrophic US default could only be 18 days away. Let's have a bit of a talk about this, guys. Honestly, I think it's going to wind up being a big nothing. You'll have the media playing it up. You'll have all the doomers yelling fear from the rooftops. You'll probably have the market responding to that fear. It's emotionally driven. Maybe the time now is to get some of that dry powder, store it up, and deploy it when you find some bargains, some good investments. Would you be moving around your stocks, selling, trying to adjust your portfolio? I can't be bothered. Can you? I think you've got more of a chance now of making an emotionally laden, incorrect decision, trying to time the market, than just continuing to do what you're doing. If you're investing in good, decent companies that you know are going to make a return, that are still going to be profitable, why not stick with it? Now's not the time to sell when you're down or when your profit's taking a shave or if you're sitting in it for the long term. But there's some people that are just going to be driven by the fear, driven by the FOMO. And I understand. I mean, I'll title this video 18 days and counting, even though I suspect it's all going to turn into a big nothing eventually and it'll disappear. But that gets people's attention. That's the problem. And some people, you need to learn. If you go down that rabbit hole of just complete doom and news, particularly in the finance side of things, you may miss opportunities. You may make rash decisions. You've got to train yourself to take it all in, assess it, and then make a rational decision. But to do that, you need a plan. You need a plan and a strategy for how you're moving forward, how you're investing, why you're investing. If you're just trying to day trade and make money, that's different to a long-term strategy of building up a holding in a company to withdraw passive income from. So that's what you need first. You need a plan, then you need to respond to that plan. I'm not going to let this affect me. I may try and shop around for some opportunities, but we'll have to see. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Do you think it'll make a big difference? Are you worried about it, or is it going to be a big nothing? As always, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I find and put together here, there are a few ways you can help us out. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Sign up for SelfWealth or Stake. Use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Bars from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.